Hola, welcome to the Kia EV9. It's a big old boy. Compact city runabout this is not. What we have here, according to Kia, is a go anywhere, do anything, bring anyone electric hauler. And to test just how good it is at all of those things, what we've decided to do today is get high. This is Pico Valletta. It is Europe's highest paved road just outside of Granada in southern Spain. Up here, the average combustion engine car will be down on horsepower by about 30% because the air is so thin. But the big EV9, its powers have only grown. So that is Pico Valletta. This is the new Kia EV9. And this is the Fully Charged Show.
If you like the Fully Charged Show, then you'll love our live events.
Next up, we're in Amsterdam for Fully Charged Live Europe on the 24th, 25th and 26th of November.
Get your tickets today.
Okay, welcome to a very practical demonstration of why we will not be filming much of this video in town. This car's huge! That's not going to fit. That's actually, Andy, that's not going to fit. Mirrors in. Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Oh, I tell you, my wing mirrors would be useful right now. Oh, no. The crazy thing is, this is a relatively wide piece of road by southern Spanish standards. You should have seen the car park we left this thing in last night. It was actually cameraman Andy who was driving, and I was sort of scouting ahead and helping him through corners. I sort of wish we'd filmed it, but we wouldn't have been able to use any of it because he was using swear words last night that were frankly upsetting. I've always considered myself to be quite good at swearing, but he used words last night that I didn't fully understand. And we're only doing this for two reasons. Number one, we woke up in town, we have to get out of town to get up the mountain. Number two, to demonstrate how ridiculous it is that people drive vehicles like this in cities. Good people of London who own Range Rovers, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to yourself? This is not a nice experience. Right, that's enough, I'm getting out of town. Now, one thing about this segment of car, the big full-size 7-seater people mover, is that traditionally they're not especially good-looking vehicles. The understood sacrifice for all that space and practicality is a, at best, dreary, at worst, downright depressing, blobby exterior. Have you ever seen someone smiling while driving a Vauxhall Zafira? No, me neither. But apparently no one told Kia about the make it dreary rule for 7-seaters, because would you look at this thing? This to me looks like something a mafioso villain would drive in a movie set on Mars. This is the best expression of Kia's digital tiger face design language that I've seen so far. Digital tiger face, by the way, also the name of Elon Musk's second child. And really what they've done here is just kept it simple. It's a big boxy thing, very smooth surfaces, not too many creases, and then just a few really interesting little details to catch your eye. So at the front, big bonnet, no muscle creases, none of that, same at the front, big smooth panel, no faux grille, but then you've got these really eye-catching headlights. You've got the sort of thunderbolt shaped DRLs and these two banks of lights for the main beams, which sort of look like they're about to fire rockets at you. And as we come around the side, well, let's just take a moment to acknowledge the size of this thing. Cameraman Andy's just said that I look small next to this car, which doesn't usually happen. And here's another clue as to how flipping big this thing is. That's a 21-inch wheel. Have you ever seen a car swallow a 21 quite like it? Look at the sidewall they've managed to wrap around it. It's a full 5-meter long car. We're talking Range Rover proportions here, but of course, sitting on bespoke EV architecture, which, as you can imagine, results in just astronomical amounts of space inside. We'll get to that in a second. I like the squircle rims on this car. Big long roof racks which you can actually put stuff on. I mean, good lord, you can put a small house on top of the roof of this car. It's big. And then around the back, as with the front and the sides, the interestingness doesn't come from lots of fussy creases in the metalwork. It's a big smooth panel, but then you just got these really cool and unusual tail lights. The back end I wasn't sure about in the pictures, but I've come round to it since seeing it in the metal. And then let's just talk about this, your first taste of the levels of space that this thing affords. So what we have here, with the rear seats up, that's the third row of seats, mind you, with those up, you still have a 333 litre boot. So properly usable boot, even in full people carrier mode. But when you pop those seats down, well, what you have then is 820 litres of space. Huge, boxy opening, absolutely no lip. Another 90 litres in the front as well. It's a hauler. We're out of town. I'm in my deep dish relaxation seat. I've got my head hammock set just so. Getting a full body massage right now. This is where this car is at its best. It has to be said that when it comes to getting out of town, there is something special about doing big car stuff in a big car. There's a maturity to a big vehicle with a long wheelbase that you just cannot replicate. And this is a big vehicle with a long wheelbase. And while Kia always like to have a semblance of sportiness to the way their cars handle, first and foremost, this is a wafter. It's Range Rover-esque. Oh, people are going to get cross about that. Gotta say, I really like the sounds this thing makes as well. Listen. A little bit sci-fi, but without being too silly or over the top. I feel like car brands are starting to really embrace adding a bit of sound to their electric cars, and I'm all for it. It adds something to the experience. And let's just talk about performance and handling for a second, because Kia has always fancied itself as Hyundai's slightly sportier sibling. This one, this all-wheel drive car, this has got 378 horsepower and will do 0 to 60 in 5.3 seconds, which is pretty quick for 2.5 tons worth of wafter. Once this road straightens out a bit, I might demonstrate that for you. Here we go, let's just give it a quick squirt. It's plenty, any more would be uncouth. And just while we're on a little downhill section here, I want to talk about a very Kia Hyundai specific feature that I love about this car, and I loved on the Ioniq 6 as well, which is adjustable regen braking via 2 paddles on the back here. Now, in my Polestar and in most electric cars, I just put it in full regen, 1 pedal driving, leave it there. And sure enough, this has very strong 1 pedal driving regen. If I put it in max setting now, it'll bring the car to a complete stop. We like that. But when you have the adjustability via the paddles and a little downhill section and your efficiency right in front of you on the screen, what you can do is play the game of efficiency. I can go down this road purely adjusting my speed via adjusting my regen strength, and all of a sudden you're playing a little game with yourself. How smooth can I be while recuperating as much energy as possible? Oh, sharp corner, let's go to level 3 and then ease out of it. It's a silly, nerdy little game, but I find it deeply enjoyable. And again, the car is putting you in touch with the fact that it's electric, that it's recuperating power, and it's encouraging you to take part in that process instead of being passive. I love that. Another surprising little thing about this car, really good turning circle. We were absolutely convinced that it had rear wheel steer when we were squeezing down those little Granadan roads, but no, just a really tight turning circle. Yet another advantage of that bespoke architecture and the EGMP platform. Right, we are currently about 1,500 metres above sea level, so in relation to the peak, only about halfway. Cold. It's cold up here. Did you know it gets cold when you get up high? We, as a collective, didn't dress correctly. First things first, immense space, immense comfort. Those are the absolute minimum requirements for a gigantic car. It does that thing that Kias and Hyundais do. It's got a relaxation mode, so that when you get to the charger, if you're waiting a few moments, you can, that is stupendous. And these are Kia's new relaxation seats. They are outrageously comfortable. They were really good on the EV6, but they've really dialed up the level of squash for this car here. I'm going to reluctantly go back to a normal seating position because I'm just going to fall asleep. What else? Lots of space, very, very comfortable, lots of storage, big practical SUV, you need lots of storage. Actually quite small door bins, but then because we've got bespoke architecture, no gear tunnel, we've got a really useful tub down here to pop a handbag or laptop or anything of that sort of size. A couple of cup holders here, which are wildly over-designed, but quite pleasing, I find. They are a little bit plasticky, I will say that. Given this car is sort of flirting with BMW, Audi money, there are a couple of slightly plasticky things in here that betray that it's not a BMW or an Audi, and these are one of them, this is another. By and large, quality pretty good in here. What else? Wireless charger, little teeny cubby back there. The reason this is so small is because there's proper storage in the back. Sorry, I don't know if you're picking that wind up on camera. It sounds so cold out there. Sorry, Louis, I'll keep this brief. Very small cubby back there. The reason most of this central console is sort of dedicated to the backseat occupants, we'll get to that in a second. And let's just talk about this screen setup because it's really good, is the short version. More physical buttons in this car than any other new EV that I can think of that I've driven in the last few months, which is really nice to see. Shall we talk about some less good things about the Kia EV9? Let's. Because it's a very impressive car, but there are a few things that have been bugging me over the last couple of days. Let's start with all the beeping. It's all well and good having a one-touch off button for the lane assist, but I could also do with a one-touch off button for several other features. I've always found Kias to be quite beepy in general. They do like telling you off. This one takes it to new heights, and that's because of a couple of features in particular. Number one, we have the eyeball sensor just here. This is starting to pop up on more and more cars. I guess it's a good thing. Of course, we all should be looking at the road when we're driving, but realistically, given that modern cars are absolutely littered with screens, you do often spend a bit of time looking down here at your maps or fiddling with your radio or whatever. And there have been many occasions where I feel like I'm glancing at these infotainment screens for a perfectly reasonable and safe length of time, only to get beeped at and told off by the attention sensor. Bit annoying. But what's way more annoying than that, however, is the speed limit warning. Now, we shouldn't speed. Speeding is bad. Speed limits are there for a reason. But sometimes we do. And what I really don't like is being beeped at every single time I exceed the speed limit by any number of miles per hour. And unfortunately, that feature appears to turn itself back on every single time you turn the car off and on. It's infuriating. Frankly, I would rather the car just limit my speed. Just limit it to whatever the road speed limit is. That would be less annoying than beeping at me when I do 31 for a second. Unfortunately, this may just be the way it's going with modern cars as more and more safety features become mandatory in order to hit that 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating, but it's just, I feel like I'm being nannied and it's irritating. Right, backseat jack test and back seat jack test. I'm not happy about having to get out. It's cold up here, but this is very important. Sort of the whole point of this car, isn't it? Its ability to carry 6 or even 7 full-sized adults. That's what Kia claims. Is it true? Well, we've got a big old 5-meter long car. We've got over 3 meters of wheelbase, about 3.1 meters of wheelbase, thanks to that bespoke GMP platform. The result should be staggering amounts of space. But is that the case? Well, let's see. Second row, immeasurable amounts of space. Look at this. Headroom, check. Legroom, check. Knees not too high. Flat floor, thank you very much. Space in the middle. Can shift over to here very easily. Look, I'm over here now. And I'm back there. Easy. And it's got some bells and whistles as well. Look at this. I've even got the same relaxation seat feature. That's the front seat. Look at this. I'm sat waiting for a charge. Or even if we're just driving on the motorway, I can go full recline. Oh, these seats are so comfortable. Now, you can have this car as a 7 or a 6-seater. As you can see, this is the 6-seater because there's no bench seat in the middle here. In 6-seat configuration, you can also have special swiveling middle row seats so they can face outwards. You can spin them around to face the back. This one doesn't have them, which makes me so sad. Makes me so sad. I was really excited about the swivel seats. DK made them look really cool in his video, but no matter. So there we go. That's the middle row. Impressive. But here's something really impressive. You ready for this? Keep going. 6'5" and change. Easy. Genuinely, there's a little bit of gymnastics getting in, but this is hugely impressive. I don't know if I've ever been in an electric car where I could fit so comfortably in the back, short of vans, actual vans. And I would say what's key here is that this version of the EV9 we have here has the 6-seat configuration, meaning I've got a bit of a gap through the middle just to poke my legs through. If it wasn't for that, it would be a bit snug on the old knees, bearing in mind I am unusually tall. But this is not a case of I'd be okay back here for short to medium journeys. I'd be fine back here all day long. Look, I've got reclining in my 3rd row seat. This is unbelievable. I've got USB ports back here. It's fantastic. It's so impressive. Also worth noting, everything relating to these seats is automated. So there's buttons in the boot. If I want to do 2nd row, right hand side, fold that flap. I'm going to be so careful not to accidentally panini myself right now. 3rd row, right. Down she goes. These go super flat. So, you know, if you just want a bit more room, if it's just you back here, it's and completely flat, by the way, completely flat. But even with the seats up and me sat back here, living the life of luxury, there's still 330 litres of boot space back there. This is what happens when you take the big, boxy, full-size SUV and you plop it onto proper EV architecture. We have never seen space like this in a car this size, never. And let's just talk about the 2nd row a bit. Over I come, in I get, because ample bells and whistles for your rear seat occupants. So we've got cup holders for the people in the back. We've got a nice little table, which is actually proving really useful, along with a huge storage bin. That's why you only get a smallish one in the front. We've got these USB-C ports in the seats, which I love that Kia Hyundai do these. We've got these buttons here where I can mess with the person in the front passenger seat and maintain absolute suicide, giving your children that sort of power. What else have we got? Heated and cooled seats here in the back. When was the last time you saw a car with cooled rear seats? Look, I've even got my own climate controls up in the roof here. That's really nice to see. Oftentimes, especially with cars with a 3rd row, you are rather neglected as far as climate, but look, they've got their own vents back there, they've got their own cup holders back there. They're positively spoiled. So, EV9, initial thoughts. I think it's staggeringly impressive, actually. I mean, as with all the new electric Kias we've seen recently, it's just a brilliantly well thought out, complete, polished product. It looks fantastic. I think the best looking Kia ever. It's extremely comfortable. The user interface is intuitive and effective. It's beautifully finished for the most part, and above all else, just absurd, astonishing amounts of space inside. It's so exciting to see what happens when you drop bespoke EV architecture on a vehicle this size. It turns out the answer is a cave. I'm basically outside right now, but warmer. There's a few little things I'm slightly concerned about. Efficiency being the main concern. Difficult to judge when all you've done with the car is drive it up a cliff, I appreciate, but my suspicion is that's going to be a weak point of this car. But that aside, what we have here at first glance is another slam dunk from a brand in remarkable form. And given that this thing has basically no competition whatsoever in terms of other big, comfortable 7-seater EVs, I think it's going to be outrageously popular. You know, at this point, I'm getting sick of hearing myself bigging up the Korean brands, talking about how well Kia and Hyundai have done with the transition to electric, how they've seized it as an opportunity instead of grumbling about it and dragging their feet like so many of their rivals. But I'm going to have to do it one more time, because look at this thing. It's so bloody impressive, and it's proof of, well, a few things actually. Certainly it's proof of the versatility of that EGMP platform that it sits on. It's proof of how much better electric cars are when they sit on bespoke EV architecture, all that space inside thanks to the platform. But above all else, it is absolute proof of how incredibly far the Kia brand has come in a very short space of time. Do you remember when Kia was a punchline? When they mostly churned out nasty little econo boxes that you bought because that was what your budget could stretch to? Well, times have changed. And I'll leave it at that, because frankly, it's starting to snow and I can't feel my fingers or toes, and I'm worried that they might freeze off. And those are just the bits that I can tell you about. So there we go, Kia EV9, yet another hugely impressive Korean electric car. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and if you have been, thanks for watching.